Okay, let's unpack this. If you are anywhere near the beauty, cosmetic, or even the supplement industries, you know the pace is just dizzying. We are talking about the speed of a TikTok trend. A new product goes viral, and suddenly companies need to get to market, well, yesterday. And on top of that pressure, manufacturers have to handle this crushing seasonal volatility. They have to juggle an endless, sprawling stream of SKUs, stock keeping units, and they have to do all of this while maintaining just rigorous quality control and complying with these increasingly complex requirements, like the new cosmetic manufacturing regulations for 2025. The problem is traditional manufacturing lines, the fixed monolithic ones, they just buckle under that kind of pressure, that level of volatility and speed. Changing a line for a new flavor or a new shade can take an entire shift. So what's the strategic answer that the major players are turning to? We're diving into modular cosmetic manufacturing, or MCM, and you should really think of it as building a customizable factory from, I don't know, high-tech Lego blocks.
That analogy is, it's actually perfect because our mission today is to show you exactly how MCM acts as a shortcut to efficiency and compliance. We're moving beyond this idea of massive fixed infrastructure. We're replacing those old production lines with standardized, reusable, plug-and-play modules.
Yeah.
And all of it is coordinated by this robust, intelligent digital nervous system.
And the core value proposition for you, for the person who's trying to optimize their operations, is understanding that this is so much more than just raw speed. It's about building in deep end-to-end traceability.
Right.
It means tracking every raw material, every operational parameter, every single packaging spec from the moment the formulation leaves the lab all the way to the finished product heading out the door. It basically fixes that pain point of ingredient auditing almost instantly. So let's start with the strategic why. Why are major brand and contract manufacturers making these significant capital investments to adopt this now? The core driver, according to all the industry analysis we reviewed, is undeniably flexibility.
And flexibility isn't just a buzzword here. It really means the system can respond instantly to those fleeting consumer trends. And, crucially, it can adapt to regulatory changes. You mentioned those new 2025 compliance rules.
Yeah.
They put an immense burden on auditing raw materials, on documenting process control. So if you have a traditional fixed line, adapting to a new regulation, let's say requiring a different temperature control window for a preservative, that might mean rebuilding part of your system.
A huge undertaking.
A huge undertaking. With MCM, you might just swap out one processing module that already meets the new spec, or you just download a new validated operating procedure to the module's controller.
That rapid response capability, it must revolutionize how manufacturers handle private label requests. You can go from a client inquiry to a physical running line in a fraction of the time.
For sure. And that flexibility translates into really practical production gains.
Yeah.
Especially in faster changeovers. Exactly. I mean, in a traditional factory, a significant changeover like switching from, say, a deep red lipstick base to a sheer nude lip gloss that requires hours of manual teardown and really stringent, time-consuming cleaning validation.
Yeah, that's a whole shift, easily.
Right. With MCM, the gains come from standardized interfaces, modules that can be physically swapped out in minutes, and what the industry calls digital handshakes that instantly qualify the new setup.
It sounds like moving from a traditional factory floor to, I don't know, a Formula One pit stop.
It truly does. And the practical implication for your CFO is huge. It's about investment value. In the past, planning capacity expansion meant tearing down and expanding one giant line, a huge capital expenditure that might take 18 months.
It might be obsolete by the time it's done.
Exactly. With the modular approach, you plan incremental capacity by just adding pre-qualified modules when you need them. It's investment preservation. You're not risking a massive stranded asset if the market shifts again.
And the analysis shows this all works because of architectural strategy, whether you use horizontal or vertical modular arrangements. But fundamentally, the system is designed for quicker, validated adaptation without sacrificing quality or that crucial digital trail. Okay, that makes the business case crystal clear. To handle that kind of speed and volatility, the system needs to be physically built differently. So let's get into the actual architecture. How do you build a flexible factory out of these standardized blocks?
Well, the whole system is structured around decentralization. It really hinges on 3 core module types: standardized shared utilities, and critically, a digital brain that ties it all together.
Okay, so walk us through the physical components.
First, you have the process modules. This is where the actual chemistry happens, the formulation, mixing, homogenization, all the heating and cooling.
The complex stuff.
The complex stuff. Second, the packaging modules, which handle the rapid, repeatable tasks: filling, capping, labeling, cartoning, and finally the often overlooked containment modules for handling, buffer storage, and internal logistics.
The success here must live and die by standardization.
It absolutely does.
Mhm.
What's fascinating is that every single interface between these modules has to be meticulously defined. And we're not just talking about the physical bolts and pipes, the electrical, pneumatic, or hydraulic connections.
Right.
We are crucially talking about the data protocols.
So the module has to know how to physically connect and how to digitally talk to the next module in line. What does that mean in practice?
It means you need a library of reusable modules that all share a common physical footprint and a standardized port layout. If I design a module today to mix a lotion, I know that 2 years from now I can plug it into a packaging module that was designed by a completely different vendor, and the system will recognize it.
Wow.
And that dramatically reduces compatibility risk. It lowers the engineering effort when you need to reconfigure for a new seasonal line.
Okay, now let's talk about that digital brain. The physical flexibility is enabled by the digital backbone. What are the essential layers of technology involved here?
Absolutely. The digital backbone is critical. It begins with the foundation, the shared utility hub for things like compressed air, clean water, steam. But the true game changer is the software stack.
Yeah.
The manufacturing execution system, or MES. It acts as the entire plant's central nervous system,
The brain.
the brain. And underneath that, you have the PLC's escadette controls that are driving the individual modules. The MES is the key because it ensures those standardized data models are enforced. So this system doesn't just give you real-time visibility, it provides auditable control.
And this all loops back to that crucial promise of end-to-end traceability. Why is the modular structure so much better at this than a traditional system?
Because a traditional system often requires you to manually stitch together data from different, sometimes proprietary machines. It's a nightmare for auditing.
I can imagine.
In a modular system, the ultimate goal of that robust MES data schema is to make sure that a specific data point, say the precise homogenization speed and temperature from the mixing module, is automatically and seamlessly associated with the corresponding packaging lot, the raw material supplier certificate, and the final QC result.
So if a supplier reports a contamination issue later,
You don't have to pull an entire week's worth of product. You can immediately identify and isolate only the specific packaged lots that use that material in that affected process window. That is massive risk mitigation.
that level of risk mitigation brings us to the strategic heart of modular manufacturing, the process design itself. The architectural choice you make directly impacts your product mix and your capital efficiency. We mentioned the two main architectural choices, horizontal versus vertical modularity. Let's explore the trade-offs there.
Horizontal modularity is like creating parallel lanes for a specific function. So for example, you might have 10 different small mixing modules all operating at the same time.
And they all feed into one or two common high-speed filling lines.
Exactly. It's ideal for high product variety. Think of a makeup company launching 100 new eyeshadow shades.
Right, that makes total sense.
It supports that high variety and enables centralized quality control because the complex part, the formulation, is done in parallel, but the downstream processes are common.
Is there a downside?
The downside is you might introduce more complex scheduling to make sure that single filling line doesn't become a bottleneck.
Okay. And what about the alternative, vertical modularity?
Vertical modularity is when you tightly stack or couple modules by stage or product family. The mixing module, the filling module, the capping module, they're often dedicated and physically tied to one specific high-value product.
Like a flagship anti-aging serum or something.
Exactly that. This is better for highly regulated high-value SKUs that require extremely tight, dedicated process control and minimal environmental exposure between the stages.
So horizontal for throughput and variety, and vertical for precision and regulatory control. It sounds like manufacturers really need to analyze their product portfolio before they commit.
They absolutely have to. And once that architecture is chosen to mitigate risk, manufacturers rely heavily on meticulous process mapping. This is essential for documenting the end-to-end material flow, for identifying every single data capture point you're going to need for an audit, and for designing the line to minimize physical handoffs between modules. That's where contamination risk often creeps in.
And for those crucial changeovers where time and quality are usually lost, you have to adopt a risk-based changeover design. What does that process even look like?
It starts with standardization. You have standardized cleaning validation plans and changeover procedures that are actually pre-qualified using a digital twin simulation.
Before the operator even touches the physical equipment.
Before they touch anything, You don't guess that the new configuration will work, you run the changeover virtually first. Then the process relies heavily on digital checklists and interlocks to ensure consistency and minimize human error during the physical swap.
Moving on to quality assurance, this is where the speed of MCM could run into regulatory trouble if it's not managed correctly. In the cosmetic and supplement space, the equipment you choose isn't just about speed. It has to be impeccably hygienic.
Hygienic design is foundational. The equipment you prioritize must be CIP/SAP capable, that's clean in place, and sterilize in place. These components are built with cosmetic-grade materials like high-quality 316 stainless steel to prevent product interaction and cross-contamination.
And what's the modular advantage of using automated CIP/SP?
Oh, it's crucial for changeover speed. If you swap a traditional module, you often need a dedicated manual cleaning team, and then you have to wait for lab results to confirm it's clean.
Right, more downtime.
Exactly. With CIP/SAP built into the module, the system cleans and validates itself immediately, and it records the entire wash cycle data. This can literally reduce downtime by half. That translates directly into profit.
And that cleaning validation is part of the non-negotiable qualification framework.
Correct. You need a structured approach to prove the system works. Installation qualification, or IQ, proves the equipment is set up according to the drawings. Operational qualification, OQ, verifies it performs consistently under specified conditions.
Like running at maximum throughput.
For sure. And performance qualification, PQ, demonstrates that it consistently produces product that meets spec. This documented proof is what an auditor demands.
Now let's talk about the advanced automation that really integrates quality assurance.
The two biggest advancements here are the digital twin simulation and AI monitoring. The digital twin is a complete virtual replica of your production line. It allows manufacturers to model throughput, identify bottlenecks, and most importantly, analyze the impact of a changeover before any physical reconfiguration takes place. This saves tremendous time and risk.
And this is where AI steps in. How does AI-driven monitoring keep the quality bar so high in such a fast-moving environment?
It analyzes sensor data in real time. So if the viscosity of a formulation starts to drift slightly because of the subtle temperature fluctuation, the AI detects that drift long before a human operator would ever notice.
Wow.
This enables predictive maintenance, forecasting component wear, and it supports autonomous QC, using process analytical technology tools for inline checks to speed up release decisions.
But all that data is useless without integrity. We heard the term LCOA plus earlier. Can you break that down for us?
LCOA plus sounds like a complex compliance term, but the core idea is simple: trustworthy data. It stands for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate, plus the modern additions of complete, consistent, enduring, and available.
Okay.
The essence is that data has to be reliable. If an inspector walks onto your floor and asks, who pressed the button that started this batch and when, the data trail in your MES has to immediately and uniquely point to one person at one precise time with one verified result. It's the absolute foundation of auditable compliance.
And ultimately, this whole modular structure has to adhere to good manufacturing practice, or GMP standards, specifically referencing ISO 22716 for quality and hygiene.
Precisely. And because you are constantly reconfiguring moving modules, changing processes, rigorous, repeatable, formal change control is vital. Every single reconfiguration is tracked, documented, and approved, maintaining that unbroken auditable history.
All right, enough theory. Let's translate this to the bottom line. What are the real-world results that listeners should benchmark against if they're thinking of adopting this architecture?
The case studies paint a very clear picture of ROI, and it's driven by reduced downtime. Take case study A, focused on a highly seasonal skincare product line with hundreds of variations. They deployed a modular cluster that dramatically dropped their changeover times between SKUs.
The sources show they went from 60 minutes down to just 12 to 18 minutes.
Yeah, think about that saving. That 40-minute gain per changeover, replicated dozens of times a week, means line utilization, the amount of time the equipment is actually making product plan, that went up 15 to 20%.
That's huge.
For a high-volume facility running 247, a 15% utilization gain could mean adding nearly one full day of production capacity every single week.
Without expanding the building or adding staff.
Exactly. That's just money in the bank.
And then there's case study B, a private label supplement line. By implementing parallel packaging modules, an example of horizontal modularity, they were able to run 3 different SKUs at the same time.
And that capability translated into a massive 25 to 40% reduction in overall downtime. But here's an interesting physical benefit. Because the modules are so compact and the utilities are centralized, they achieved a 30 to 50% footprint reduction compared to older legacy lines. That saves significant real estate costs.
So we have concrete benchmarks here. For change over time, you should be aiming for sub 30 minutes for most SKUs, and ideally hitting 10 to 20 minutes for the simplest variants.
And for space, you should target a 20 to 40% reduction in floor space through these compact shared utility layouts. And the sustainability targets are equally specific. Aim for 10–30% reductions in energy and water intensity per unit. This is mainly achieved through highly optimized cleaning and better heat recovery.
This all hinges on the upfront decision framework. I mean, when is modularity the right choice, and when is traditional manufacturing still the better option?
Modularity strongly favors environments with high product variety, frequent reformulations, and critical speed to market demands. If your business model relies on launching 10 new products a month, modularity is it's essential.
But the sources also confirm traditional lines still have their place.
Yes. A traditional line might be preferable for a mature product family with stable single SKUs where regulatory complexity is very low and production volumes are massive and steady.
So if you're only making two versions of a globally sold high-volume toothpaste,
The efficiency of a hyper-optimized traditional line might still win on total cost of ownership. But for everyone else operating in the volatile beauty space, the modular approach balances that upfront investment against a much faster payback period. And that payback is driven by agility and reduced downtime. Switching to the roadmap. Successful implementation of MCM is not instantaneous. It requires a really disciplined structure. The sources detail a step-by-step pathway. It begins with a comprehensive needs assessment, defining the specific architecture you need, running a pilot program, and ensuring rigorous MES validation.
so it's a phased rollout. You don't do it all at once.
Absolutely not. You have to scale the deployment in careful phases, optimize your standard operating procedures, and establish strong governance before you can start continuously measuring efficacy and iterating on the results. You just can't rush that digital validation step.
And finally, let's revisit the critical role of sustainability. Modular lines aren't just faster, they are inherently greener.
That's right. By optimizing energy and water usage through efficient design, they reduce utility consumption significantly. They enable highly efficient cleaning regimes and even localized solvent recovery.
The push is toward life cycle thinking, urging manufacturers to adopt life cycle assessment methodologies and track crucial metrics like energy and water intensity per batch. That alignment with eco-conscious consumers is a non-negotiable business advantage today. Okay, let's take a final step back. Modular manufacturing isn't simply about shuffling equipment around faster. It's about digitizing the process so deeply that quality control, compliance, and change management become virtually seamless and highly predictable. It's what transforms a factory into a high-speed, auditable digital asset.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the unique power of MCM lies in its ability to manage high volatility, those constantly shifting product demands, and high regulatory risk at the same time. By separating functions into these standardized, swappable units, you essentially build a future-proof system. It can adapt to new regulations or market needs without requiring massive disruptive capital expense every time the market changes.
A final thought for you to mull over. If the cosmetic and supplement industries, which rely so heavily on rapid trend shifts and incredibly high SKU complexity, are seeing these double-digit improvements in utilization and cutting changeover times by 70 to 80%, which other established high-regulation industries, maybe specialized pharmaceuticals or even complex electronic component assembly, are ripe for a modular transformation. How quickly can plug-and-play move beyond cosmetics? That's your next deep dive.